putting it on different ways, see which gets the best color.
Somebody called David Hockney the most popular serious artist painting today. He's also one of the most playful. For the past 6 years, he has devoted much attention to painting magical settings for opera.
You know, the intensity of color can be physical, but it has to be very intense for it to seem to go into your body. And I think you can only get that intensity through a combination of pigment and colored light.
So, stage lights became part of the Hockney palette. If you watch closely, you can see them transform a tree in the Ravel opera L'Enfant et le Sortilège, The Child and the Sorceries. Right now at the Walker Art Center in Minneapolis, and over the next year at 5 other museums, you can see an exhibition inspired by David Hockney's sets for the Metropolitan Opera in New York and Glyndebourne in England.
It's neat, isn't it?
To see Hockney's sets as museum pieces, it took a museum director.
I saw a production of The Magic Flute and thought it was terrific, and I thought, these are extraordinary. These are like great walk-in paintings.
Martin Friedman is director of the Walker Art Center.
What I don't want it to do is, I don't want the opportunity to show the relationship between his painting and his theater design seems so valid that I didn't think about the problems as much as I should have. Now, let's see if you walk towards Jake, about there.
One of the biggest problems was that opera settings are meant to have operas going on in front of them. So the museum director came up with an unusual solution. He asked the artist himself to create scenes to animate his settings.
Had to actually make 7 giant pieces. In fact, you had to translate the theatre into terms of the museum in a way to make it interesting for somebody to look at.
In The Magic Flute, Mozart has a character use the flute to summon fantastic animals. To give life to his painted wooden figures, Hockney fragments them.
I suddenly realized a way to give the feeling, anyway, of these animals in movement, and that was from the fragmented photography that I'd been experimenting with.
Those experiments were intended to put time into photography, to keep you looking longer.
What it led me to believe now that it wasn't volume that gave something life, it was time, in a way, which is what it was about, what putting the pieces in was about. It makes you look at it for a long time if you fragment it.
Hockney said he had no idea of the time it would take to put the Minneapolis exhibit together. It took 5 months of intense effort. He transformed a gallery of the museum to a workshop, and he was working until moments before the opening.
We did a lovely wedding.
The figures he created for Stravinsky's opera The Rake's Progress make an auction come alive. The Rake's ultimate progress is to Bedlam.
Thank you very much. And this is Debbie, D-E-B-B-I.
David Hockney grew up in what he calls the Gothic gloom of northern England. He says he longed for clear light, such as he found when he moved to Southern California 20 years ago.
Somehow I've always had an idea that you could paint modern life, and somehow I thought Los Angeles is perhaps the place to do this. Everybody really just wants to sit in the sun or play tennis or something. I like all that. I mean, of course, I know people think I'm a hedonist or something, but an artist who's interested in hedonism cannot, of course, himself be a hedonist. He has to work and translate it, but you enjoy it. And that's why I stay there, really, trying to make something of it. But then I get sidetracked, or I get sidetracked to the theatre.
For his designs for Stravinsky's opera, Le Rossignol, The Nightingale, Hockney found inspiration in the blue and white world of Chinese porcelain.
In the Rossignol piece, I used the whole piece is made up of about 160 separate canvases, which means the whole story is told, yet each canvas is just a few brush marks.
So what are you working on now? Are you taking a breather?
I'm drawing Ravel's garden.
Are you starting Ravel's garden now? Let's go down and have a look at it.
Yeah, I'm
Great.
just going to get some more chalk.
Great.
2 weeks before the opening, major pieces of the set still were not finished. David Hockney had just begun to turn the magical garden of Ravel into a giant walk-in painting.
We thought somehow we should make a room full of colour, that colour totally surrounds you and it's almost physical. If you're doing it with vigorous brushes, one person has to do it because you can soon tell everybody makes marks differently. And in that sense, therefore, I had to do it. I think the beauty is in the looking, not in the thing itself. It's in you being able to look. In fact, if you can see and look, you've got life, and that's the beautiful thing. As far as I can see, we get glimpses of happiness. Actually, that's what I try and deal with sometimes. Just the glimpse. We're lucky if we get glimpses.
Is there something that pleases you about your work when you look at it over the long haul?
When I looked around here, I thought I hadn't been wasting my time.
No, he has definitely not been wasting his time, and it has been quite a run. Half a century of work now on display in the first show ever devoted exclusively to portraits by 68-year-old David Hockney, considered one of the most important artists to come on the scene in the mid-20th century.
Why, of all the things you paint, do you choose so often to paint portraits?
Well, I like people. They're rather fascinating. They're all a bit different, especially faces.
Especially faces as he explores them, in paintings or sketches or even his collage photographs. They compel us to look at them. Whether single or double portraits, we know there is a story there. They are both traditional and modern.
Do you have a way of defining your art, or do you not want to?
Hockney-esque. What else can I don't know. You might as well invent a word.
He has always been an original. After all, when Hockney began in the 1950s, abstract painting was in vogue, not the figurative works he was doing.
Hockney to establish his own tone of voice and to say this is a valid form of art expression in the age of abstraction. It requires incredible intelligence, strength and commitment, and he's been very bold in that sort of way.
Malcolm Rogers is director of the Boston Museum of Fine Arts, where the Hockney show just opened. It goes on to Los Angeles and London.
He has one of the most fertile imaginations of any living artist, and always, even in a cool classical picture like this, he's telling us something about humanity as well.
Hockney was born in Bradford, England, in Yorkshire. His parents always encouraged his work and were frequent models over the years. His father, who worked as a clerk, sat for Hockney's very first oil painting.
When I said I'd like to paint my father, he set it up with a mirror so he could watch what I was doing. And then he'd tell me, well, are you sure that's, what are you painting now? Is that the right color you've got? Things like that, you know.
But soon, Hockney left the comfort of his family to try his luck in the USA. He moved to Los Angeles, dyed his hair blonde, and fell in love with the clear light and the free and easy lifestyle. To his delight, collectors snapped up his work from the very beginning.
They weren't very expensive, you know, $300, $500. I always assumed it would go on like that, frankly, and I must say...
You always assumed, you just
The moment I earned a living as an artist, I felt I was rich, which I was, actually, because you're doing what you want to do. I mean, there I was, I could look at the world, interpret it, and get paid for it as well. Well, you're rich, and I thought so, and what else would I want to do?
So now when you see one of your paintings sell for, I think one recently sold for $3 million?
Well, yeah. It's okay, but I mean, it's all gone a little bit over the top, I think. I mean, I must point out when they were $1,000, a lot of people thought they were too expensive. So, and I thought they were, well, it's a fair price. So.
Over the years, Hockney's lush California landscapes and cool blue swimming pools earned him an international reputation, along, of course, with his portraits, which often display a sense of humor. Two wealthy art collectors, Fred and Marcia Wiseman, commissioned this painting.
This man seems to be holding his hands so tightly.
Well, I left the drip on because I felt it made it look as though he was holding his hand tightly and it was squeezing the paint off the hand. That's why I deliberately left that, really.
Hockney also had fun showing a similarity between the teeth on the totem pole and those of Mrs. Wiseman. He says she didn't much care for that, which helps explain why Hockney generally refuses to do commissioned portraits.
You need to be a bit of a flatterer, I think, and some people can do that.
But not you.
I'm not very good at that, no.
In fact, the vast majority of the works in this show are of people Hockney knows quite well. The exhibit is subtitled Friends, Family, Lovers, Life. And there are several portraits of one of those former lovers, Peter Schlesinger, including this well-known painting called Peter Getting Out of Nick's Pool. Hockney has always been very open about being gay.
I don't want to live a deceitful life, you know. I mean, you're an artist. You want to be honest. You've got to be.
He has also been brutally honest in what he sees in others. This painting, called Mr. and Mrs. Clark and Percy, Percy being the cat, is considered one of Hockney's masterpieces. It was recently voted one of the best-loved paintings in Britain. But it does not showcase a happy couple.
They ended up separating and divorcing not long after you painted it. Did you know before they did that there was trouble in paradise?
I might have done a bit. I mean, they were both great friends of mine, but, you know, Ozzy was a bit difficult. I always knew he was difficult.
But Hockney hasn't limited himself to painting on canvas. He has designed sets for several operas, as he was doing when Sunday Morning caught up with him in 1984.
You know, the intensity of color can be physical, but it has to be very intense for it to seem to go into your body.
He spent years working on photographic portraits, including this one of the late film director Billy Wilder. When he knew the portrait exhibit was in the works, Hockney, who now splits his time between the U.S. and England, started painting a whole new series, asking friends like Joni Moisant-Weil and Sidney Felsen to pose for him.
You are the only people in any of these double portraits that I've seen who are actually touching.
We touch a lot.
I think David senses that we have fortunately we have a great relationship.
Hockney has done many portraits of longtime friend Charlie Shipes.
You're behind him. Is he painting in a mirror? What?
Yeah, I actually think this is the most fascinating painting, despite me being in it. It's actually David looking at himself, looking in a mirror, painting himself, who's also painting me, looking at him paint. It's very spacey.
Thank you very much.
Many of Hockney's portrait subjects flew in for the exhibit's opening reception, enjoying the chance to pose in front of their likenesses. And Hockney reveled in all of it, though he makes it a point not to take himself too seriously.
You're now sort of a highly respected elder statesman of the art world.
But I'm still not a respectable person. I'm not claiming that.
But respectable or not, David Hockney has a lot more work to do.
But, I mean, I'm still looking ahead. I want to look ahead.